It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
We are live on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. Carte Blanche for the sports hit list by the fans and for the fans. Thank you for tuning in and joining us this wonderful afternoon on October 14th, 2020. I am dating this because I have been trying to get these two gentlemen on a live for how long now, and I was finally able to do it. I feel some sense of accomplishment in life, knowing that I was able to get Greg Polius and Paul Lakisi. For those who don't know, these guys have been going back and forth. I don't know for how long in the group, whether we're talking about baseballs, whether we're talking about NBA ratings, whether we're talking about Tim Tebow, Kawhi Leonard. There's a lot to discuss here. We have some time to discuss it. So thank you, gentlemen, for both joining me. And all bets are off. And people are telling me, Carl, are you sure you're able to moderate this? I'm like, I'm pretty sure I'm up for the task. I've been doing this for a while and trying to handle YouTube
bets are off.
Will be fine. But first, I wanted to touch upon recently, between Paul and Greg and myself, we were talking about NBA ratings and why the NBA ratings have been down. And there's this notion out there that it's because of the Black Lives Matter protest. And what's fair is fair. Adam Silver has even come out to say that moving forward, he may not lean towards having more Black Lives Matter, things on the court and how the players went about it being in the bubble. I've analyzed the stats. I did my vlog on it. I'm not going to spend too much time talking about it again. For those who didn't see my video, you can go to the Facebook page. You can go to the Facebook group and see my video about NBA ratings. But I know Paul felt a certain way about it. I know Greg felt a certain way about it. So that's the first topic we're going to get into today, is about NBA ratings and why they're down. Paul, I'm going to give you the floor first. What are your thoughts here? I know where you stand, but tell the people.
First of all, Carl, thank you for putting me on the show. And I appreciate you giving me the platform and the opportunity to speak. Always a blessing to be on the show. That's number one. Let's get to the ratings. I saw your video, Carl. It was you were spot on. I thought everything you brought to the table when you were bringing your facts were accurate. I'm not going to deny that, but it's hard to quantify everything you said and said that this specifically are the reasons why, and this is this is the reasons why the ratings were down by this much. At the end of the day, we got to go back and let's look at history. If we look at 2016, the NFL ratings that was the last time the NFL ratings went down by this much. And what was significant back then was the Colin Kaepernick kneeling and how it was handled. And you had a lot of fans who were polled and a lot of fans on television saying, I'm not going to support the NFL as long as they have this Colin Kaepernick kneeling during the anthem. And we saw during the bubble that you had players kneel. You saw players like Jonathan Isaac refuse to kneel, Myers Leonard, which was their right. But at the end of the day, I think a lot of the fans who are majority white, majority upper middle class and conservative do not want to see that and do not agree with the way that the athletes are using the platform. So a lot of people, in my opinion, just decided to watch something else. Is that the only factor? Absolutely not. I do believe that the pandemic had a huge impact on other sports, people realizing that there are more to life than sports, and that, people are streaming, people are watching Netflix, people are doing other things, people are working, people may not have the money to watch it. The start times were bad. They had games starting at 1 p.m., games starting at 3:30 p.m., 4 o'clock when people were working. There were so many reasons and factors that combined into why the ratings were down. But I think it will be foolish if we ignore that. A lot of people were turned off by the way people handle the athletes handled the protest and the walking off during Game 5 of Milwaukee and Orlando after the Blake shooting. So I mean, all of those factors come into play, and it's hard to say which one is more important. I'm not going to sit here and say that my reasoning is more important than the reasons you brought, but I think, in my opinion, I think it's played a big factor.
Greg, what are your thoughts here? And I know you've had some experience working with media and ratings and systems. Do you agree with what Paul just had to say?
Well, first we have to acknowledge the fact that he walked back his initial stance. So we definitely have to acknowledge that because he was not this nuanced in his approach. Firstly, and also Paul, how can you say you agree to all of Carl's facts and numbers that he gave you, and then immediately follow that up by saying you don't think it's quantifiable? That doesn't make sense.
Quantifiable in the sense of it's hard to pick numbers. Like say a million fans didn't watch because of this, a million fans didn't watch because of that reason. That's what I mean by quantifiable.
Okay, so thank you for that. But that still doesn't eliminate. And first of all, the NBA has been the most outspoken league when it comes to social justice since forever, right? Since we've started, this has become since Trayvon Martin.
2014, yeah.
And the fans that stopped watching then didn't start watching again because, they felt they don't want to see that in sports. There's a whole section of fans, right? They don't want to see social issues in sports. That's fine. That's their prerogative. I'm not knocking them for that. But to say that thousands of fans and hundreds of thousands of fans are not watching solely because of this does not begin to tell the entire story, especially when you look at how the ratings are actually done. In 2010, there were 105 million households with TVs that were cable-based. Now, in 2019, there were 82.9 million. So everything is on a steady decline because cable is not as needed as it used to be. And then factor in everything you said with the game times and all of that going up against the NFL. Nobody wins when they do that. On top of that, going up against people may not like baseball, but the baseball playoffs sell in regions. And then we have to look at the matchup in the finals. If it was Lakers, the Lakers Clippers would have did bigger numbers than the Lakers Heat in the finals, and the Lakers Clippers in the conference finals. So you have the Heat are more of a regional team. They don't have a face on a Wheaties box superstar. So the casual fan isn't going to tune into that.
So, Paul, can you agree?
Tell Marcus,
in my opinion.
Tell Marcus my sippy cup is fire.
So, Paul, do you agree here? Is it agree to disagree here with this debate? Because, again, Paul strictly said he agrees with the stance of that it's not every single factor. But can we come to an agreement that, there were mitigating factors, not just the Black Lives Matter, that caused the ratings to plummet?
Oh, yeah, definitely. And I think what Greg brought up about the amount of TVs, I think you brought that up in your video too. That's definitely a factor. When you have 23 million less televisions, of course, ratings are going to go down across the board. So I agree with that. But it's hard. Like I said, it's hard to quantify it, saying that 1 million people stop watching because of this. It's hard. It's so many factors played into why everything across the board is down.
But you can then flip that and say, people are going to watch because of the protests, and more people are going to watch then. No,
it depends. It depends. Like majority of the country is white. We are a growing minority.
Are they really? Because
I would say about 55% of the country is white. So they make up majority of the people who go to the games, who purchase the merchandise, who buy the concessions, and who watch the television. So when I say majority of this, I mean majority of the conservative white fan base, because those are the majority. The people who watch the NFL games, they're majority conservative and they're majority white. So even though we are a growing minority, we do not make up as much as the white population who watch sports.
That's fine, but you also have to differentiate the fan bases. The conservative white people that watch football are not necessarily the same exact conservatives that watch basketball.
Yeah,
there's a difference in social standings and social ideologies with the people who watch these sports. If we want to really get into the the schematics of this.
Yeah.
And
go ahead, Greg.
But cable numbers have been going down for almost 10 years. From the introduction of streaming services, and now, the cable networks have found a way to kind of find a way to view get these ratings, but it's still not going to be like same day of. So, case in point, do you ever see, when you're watching an NBA game, right? You'll see back-to-back ads of the same commercial, right?
Yeah, the Klay Thompson commercial all the time.
Okay. Do you know what an ADU is?
No, I do not.
The audience deficiency unit. When I was in media buying and we would buy cable networks, if they didn't deliver their deal, make their deal 100%, They then had to give us free commercial airloads for our product, whatever supplier we had, to make up for that delivery. And you see that way more often now because you have networks that aren't delivering on a deal because people aren't watching cable as much. And, there was several networks, including, when it came to live sports, we were getting additional ADUs in live programming because they couldn't deliver. So to say that, and this is before Trayvon Martin, before, Black Lives Matter, this even came around. So to say that this has such an impact on it isn't exactly factual when you don't have the numbers in front of you or that you're not privy to.
So guys, let me ask this question. Let me shift the conversation. When I say juice baseballs, what comes to mind? Because I know juice baseballs was a big controversy among you two and how you both felt passionate. And I know how Paul took on it. And Paul's saying he's taking the word of an actual player who plays in MLB about it. And Greg completely disagreed. And you guys went on a complete thread full of comments about juice baseballs. Paul is smirking. Paul, why are you smirking, man? Come on. How do you feel about juice baseballs? I got to give the people what they want. They want to hear you guys talk about this.
Here's the thing that annoyed me with Paul's take, because he used Justin Verlander, who is a known complainer since he was in college at Old Dominion, right? When things don't go his way. And you immediately you said it had nothing to do with launch angles, blah, 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 all that. And launch angles came about in 2015. That is factually incorrect, okay? And then I walked it back a little. I said, you know what? It may not be like all launch angle. Juice baseballs may play a role, but to discredit launch angles, you can't do. And to further prove my point, when I was working at a baseball academy up in Manhattan with John Rodriguez, who is a 2006 World Series outfielder for the St. Louis Cardinals, we were working together, 09, 2010, somewhere around there. He was teaching launch angle. So, and these were to little kids. So that tells me that in the minor leagues at that time, launch angle was already being practiced. There's a reason that it's so prevalent in the game today, because it didn't come about in 2015. It came about before that, working through the ranks of minor league baseball. And and J.D. Davis is a perfect example. J.D. Davis of the Mets had a level swing. All of a sudden, he dipped a couple degrees, and his home run total increased. And you couple that with the change of the balls, and you get more home run numbers. And not only that, you have to look at the approach of hitters. The approach of hitters is not Wade Boggs or Tony Gwynn anymore. It's Aaron Judge. It's Luke Voigt. It's I'm going to hit 250. I'm going to hit 50 bombs, and you're going to pay me, because hitting 330 with 20 home runs doesn't get me paid like hitting 250 with 50 bombs.
So, Paul, what do you think of that? Because I know you completely disagree. Did Greg make some sense to you now, or you still disagree?
I've always thought that launch angles, like I said, there's always factors into something. There's never one full reason why something goes up or down. But the launch angle was such a minor, and the reason I say minor is because we saw what happened with minor league baseball last year. Home runs went up 33% because Major League Baseball started using their balls in the minor leagues. You had players like Rene Rivera hit 25 home runs in the minors. And I looked up all the stadiums, all of the distance between home plate and center field, right field, left field, to try to understand how home runs can be hit at such a extreme high pace. And it couldn't be launch angles. I checked out home runs in the minor leagues in 2018 compared to 2019. And although, yes, people are swinging at a much higher launch angle, but it doesn't account for a 33% increase in home runs.
Wrong.
And for me, why I extremely disagreed with it was because we saw what happened when Major League Baseball started making the baseballs. They when you have your own company making the product that the players are using, there's a bias to it. So now we're going to investigate why our own baseballs are leading to an increase in home runs. Greg,
are you going to let him finish?
There was a complete bias by Major League Baseball and when people were complaining about the home runs, So I don't agree with Greg with the impact that launch. I don't think it had that much of an impact. Minor, if I ranked it from a scale of 1 to 10, I would say a 2. I would think that Major League Baseball's making their own balls had more of an impact on home runs than than launch angles. Like, and I completely agree with Justin Verlander, because if you look at the home runs that he's allowing, and you look at the home runs, people are swinging at balls at their shoes and hitting 360-foot jacks.
First of all, 360 feet is not that far. That's number one.
Nobody's Vlad Guerrero anymore.
360 is not that far.
You saw what? Did you see the Manny Machado home run?
A major league player can swing with one hand and miss the sweet spot and hit a ball 350 feet with ease. That wasn't a home run. That wasn't a home. Did you see the Manny Machado home run against? Hold on. I want to go back to something you said before we get to Manny.
Okay.
You said you examined all the stadiums and their dimensions. What you failed to realize is how stadiums play. Minor league stadiums, by nature, the balls fly out of there more. That's why in the PSL in Arizona, or the fall league, there's way more home runs there than during the season. Minor league stadiums play differently. Just like if I'm playing in Roberto Clemente in the Bronx and I hit a ball in the air is dense, it may not go. But then I go to Long Island, I play in Eisenhower, and I hit that same type of ball, it may go out because the stadium plays differently. You're not accounting for that. And to say that it doesn't play, it's like a 2 on your scale. If that was the case, Major League Baseball then wouldn't have a launch angle tracker on every home run. If it didn't play, if that wasn't the case, you wouldn't see a push by Major League Baseball to get, this launch angle phenomenon visible to fans. Because I'll tell you what, in 2010, when I was coaching in the academy, nobody knew what launch angle was. If I'm talking to a casual fan, they're like, launch angle? What is that? And then when you explain to them, and not only that, launch angle is very specific in how you approach a baseball, because not everybody can do it. There's a certain way you have to swing the bat in order to get that perfect 29 to 32 degrees angle to get that ball up and create backspin, carry, and drive.
Paul, I have people in the group. They want to know what did I do to Paul, because they want aggressive Paul here. That's what the people are asking for in the comments. I'm just reading the comments.
Aggressive Paul? No.
That's what they want. They want aggressive Paul. That's what the people want to see.
No. This is calm Paul. Paul took his meds today. Cleo took his meds today. You know what I'm saying? The doctor told Cleo to calm down. You know what I'm saying?
Can I ask you, why do you think, or why do you even do it? Why do you call yourself or name yourself after a known convicted fraud? Like, how does that work for you? How does that work for you?
First of all, Greg, I'm an entertainer, number one, okay? I'm here to entertain the people. You understand what I'm saying? So we cannot talk about you're talking about the future.
Let's go with your connection.
We're talking about the past. Talk about Cleo convicted. You know what I'm saying? The Cleo that was making predictions that was on point. You talking about what happened afterwards. That's what, besides the point. I'm an entertainer first. I'm here to entertain the people, make people laugh, and understand that, you know what I'm saying? I get lucky with these picks. Don't get it wrong.
Okay. So you know what? Here's another topic that we guys went back and forth about is Kawhi Leonard. And you kept ducking me on it, and you basically tried to change the narrative.
Absolutely.
I had to say that, because what you did was you tried to change the narrative back to my team. I wasn't talking about my team. We were talking about how you sit here and you glorify Kawhi Leonard. He gave up a 3-1 lead, and Kevin Durant did the exact same thing. And you sit here, you bash Kawhi, you bash Kevin Durant.
Look at the camera.
Yeah, right. He does because he knows it's true. He sits there. I don't know if it's for entertainment or not. You sit there and you bash Kevin Durant. You say Kevin Durant did this. He's a fraud. But then, and he gave up a 3-1 lead. He choked. But Kawhi did the same exact thing 4 years later, and you have nothing to say about it. And you're just like brushing it under the rug. What do you have to say?
Kawhi was non-existent. Kawhi became Casper in the fourth quarter. Kawhi looked like George Paul.
Right. And according to you, he was supposed to make it to you said they were going to make it to the Western Conference Finals. Did you not?
I had them losing to the Lakers in the Western Conference Finals.
They couldn't even make it to that far. What do you have to say for yourself? Come on, Miss Cleo. You predict the future.
First of all, let me just say this about Kawhi Leonard. All right. The fourth quarter versus Denver in the series, he was awful. I'm not going to deny that. I give credit to Jeremy Grant. I give credit to the Denver defense. A lot of times we don't give credit to the defense for the way they played Kawhi. I thought that Jeremy Grant and the Denver Nuggets played amazing defense on Kawhi, forced the ball out of his hands, and forced him into bad shots. With that being said, I thought he played great enough in Game 5 to end the series. Unfortunately, on the defensive end, the Clippers did not play as a unit. Game 6, the same thing. I thought Paul George and Kawhi Leonard played above average, not LeBron-esque, but like good enough to win the series. But again, their defense failed them in the fourth quarter.
They stink.
Game 7, I can't even explain that. Both Paul George
I can't
even explain that.
So let me say this. So now will you double down on your criticism of Kevin Durant? Because
I can't compare. You know the thing? Kevin Durant choked games 5 and 6. And game 7, he played okay. He played decent, but he wasn't as aggressive. But he choked in the conference finals to lose a chance to make it to the finals and possibly beat, because I thought OKC was the best team out of the 4 remaining in 2016. And then he jumped to Golden State. So Kawhi Leonard lost to the Nuggets, but he's staying with the lost to the Nuggets, but he's staying with the Clippers. He's not jumping ship. You understand what I'm saying?
Don't do that. Don't.
Yeah, it's the same thing. That's part of the criticism.
I don't
it's part of the criticism.
Why? So that means, but let me ask this. So if that's part of the criticism, then that means you criticize LeBron for jumping ship to Miami, no?
He didn't join Boston, though. He left.
But he joined 2 other All-Stars.
He joined wait.
He joined 2 other All-Stars. And then he went to.
Are you comparing Kevin Durant losing to the Warriors and then joining the Warriors to LeBron James losing to Boston in
I've said it.
Listen,
I've said
joining
this too many
Miami.
Times. Listen, I've said this too many
Boston?
times. Listen, I've said this too many times. It's the same thing. The goal is to do what? To win championships. Kevin Durant went to Golden State to win championships. LeBron James joined up with 2 other All-Stars to win championships. I've said this countless times.
Okay, but let me ask you a question.
It's not often that me and Carl are on the same side, so you know you got to be on the wrong side of something.
But wait, let me ask you a question.
This is terrible.
Let me ask you a question. Was it fair for Kevin Durant to place blame on everybody for his failures in 2016? As we've seen the last 3 years, when they keep asking him about 2016, he blamed everybody else but himself. And you saw consistently, we brought up the stats, Kevin Durant's shooting numbers in the 2016 playoffs and compared to his teammates, when he blamed his teammates, when he said that, oh, well, we couldn't shoot threes. Everyone else couldn't shoot threes. It was me. He basically did a Kyrie, which is why I think they're perfect for one another.
Why is it that when we always want to talk about how Kawhi failed this year, you want to talk about everything else?
But we acknowledge that Kawhi failed.
No, you did. No,
he did. No. I just said that he absolutely stunk up the joint in Game 7.
But what you didn't do is call him out for the fact that they were up 3-1. This is the same guy that convinced Paul George to go to LA with him. I'm LA's stepchild. Okay. You didn't talk about any of that. You just wanted to just gloss over it real smooth like that when he needs all the smoke. You and other people were talking about if he wins another ring and a finals MVP, he's one of the GOATs and one of the greats. Where is that energy right now? You quiet, Paul.
I knew, see, Cleo took the meds, so Cleo gonna get great. I knew that he wasn't gonna win this year. So you know what I'm saying? I basically did a Paul George after Game 7. You know what I'm saying? I wasn't expecting championship. You know what I'm saying? We wasn't expecting this.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? We knew it was a work in progress.
So here's another, you know what? Here's another debate. Did you guys debate something about the Titans? You guys can refresh my memory.
No, it wasn't the Titans. It was the Jaguars.
It's the Jaguars. Yes, right. That was another debate that you guys had, right? So we have to address all the things that you guys have had issues with throughout the hit list and the Jaguars. Greg, elaborate on that one.
So I said in 2017, the Jaguars had an elite defense, right? And they got smoked in the playoffs. They were a young team. It didn't surprise me that they got smoked. But Paul was saying because of the backup quarterbacks and all the things they played, they weren't elite. And my thing was, you can only play who's in front of you. Just like the New England Patriots last year were an elite defense, even though they didn't go up against everybody's starting quarterback. They play the Jets twice a year, every year. That's a handicap match. You know, so you can't say, oh, well, they only played this and they did great, but they're not elite. So just to give you a real quick, in 2017, the Jaguars defense, total yards allowed second, yards per play first, total TDs, total turnovers created second, first downs allowed first, passing yards allowed first, passing TDs allowed fourth, picks second. Rushing first downs against first, sacks second. Like they're literally 1 and 2 in every category that matters on defense. And he's trying to sit here and tell me they're not elite. And then he went on to say, oh, well, in 2018, they weren't elite. See, they suck. Like they were the same team. It's just a bad argument all around. Typical Miss Cleo BS.
Miss Cleo?
I mean, you want to be a fraud? I'm going to call him a fraud.
Let me first address what really happened. It was the AFC Championship game. They did not get smoked. They blew a 10-point lead against Tom Brady and the Patriots. And Greg was on saying that it was Blake Bortles' fault. But I said that defense wasn't elite in the first place for them to even – and they blew a 10-point lead. How could you blame Blake Bortles? And then I brought up Blake Bortles' fourth quarter numbers, and I brought up what the Jaguars' defense did. Then I had to analyze what happened. Why is it that the Jaguars put up these numbers on defense? They played majority of – first of all, Andrew Luck and Deshaun Watson did not play in that division. They had the second easiest schedule in the NFL. They played the most backup quarterbacks in the NFL. They played Blaine Gabbert, Tom Savage, TJ Yates, Mariota twice, the Jacoby Brissett twice. Not only that, they played 7 teams that were in the bottom 10 in offensive line ranking, I believe. So they led the league in sacks because of it. So when they played elite quarterbacks like Big Ben and Tom Brady the last 2 weeks of the 2017 season, they gave up about 70 points. And the next year, they had the same team. Jalen Ramsey was on that team. They had the same team, and they had a more difficult schedule. And Deshaun Watson came back, and Andrew Luck came back, and they struggled. They were 5-11. So, I mean, the whole point of this was that, okay, let me give a perfect example. How do you think the Jets did last year? The Jets went 7-9. How do you think the Jets did last year, honestly?
In your opinion?
The Jets were trash. But they had one of the easiest schedules in the league, and they had more wins last year than they did the last 2 years. They haven't won 7 games since the 2015 season, but the Jets were trash. They were 32nd in yards and 32nd in passing yards.
Here's the thing,
Their offense was trash. They won 7 games, though.
The offense was trash, but the defense was top 4 in stopping the run. So you do that, you can win games. And they also had an easy schedule. Nothing on the Jets was elite, though. I gave you numbers where they were ranked first. Again, you can't control who you play. You play who's in front of you. And while playing who's in front of them, that defense put up elite numbers. So to say they're not elite is factually incorrect. I never said they were a Super Bowl team. And I blame Blake Bortles not for the game, but for particular drives in the second half where he didn't move the ball. And if you watch football, I don't know if you still do or not, but you can, regardless of what the final score is, there are moments in a game where case in point, when the Vikings beat the Saints in Dome, and you were one of the guys who said Drew Brees didn't have a terrible game, but you called him overrated because why? Because in a one drive in overtime, he didn't get it done when he had to get it done.
I called him overrated since. I have to use my Cleo sense. When he was putting up numbers in November, he had 18 touchdowns, 1 pick. I was the only one that called him overrated. And then 3 months later in the playoffs, he was the 3rd best quarterback on the field. You know what I'm saying? I had to use my Cleo sense back then. You know what I'm saying? So, no, but here's the difference. Greg, I understand what you're saying, right? You play who's in front of you. But I think a lot of times we forget that there's a difference between me dropping 50 against 10-year-olds and you dropping 50 against people your own age.
Bro, they're all professional athletes. They're all in the
right. You're right, but I cannot compare TJ Yates and Deshaun Watson. I can't compare Jacoby Brissett and Andrew Luck. You understand what I'm saying?
But you can't then say, well, they're not elite because again, they still had to do this against offensive line play. They still even when they did play against good offensive line, they still put up. You don't get like Garrison said in the comments, you don't get a name like Saxonville because they're not elite.
They had 10 sacks against that Indiana defense the first game of the season, and that was ranked bottom 5 in the league. And they played Indiana twice. If you look at the teams they played, Greg, we did the research. Look at the teams they played. They ranked bottom 10 in offensive line rating. Are you talking about
the Indiana line with Quentin Nelson? That's the same line?
No, the one in 2017 with when Jacoby Brissett was quarterback. Their first game, they gave up 10 sacks. That was not an elite offensive line. So they played teams like that with backup quarterbacks. And then when they did play elite quarterbacks, I believe they beat Russell Wilson. I'm going to give them credit. They beat Russell Wilson. They beat Big Ben. You understand?
Wait. Stop right there. You just killed your whole argument.
No, I did not. I'm giving them credit for I'm giving them credit for beating good quarterbacks as well. They beat Russell Wilson. They beat Big Ben. But then they still played majority backup quarterbacks more than anyone in the league. They still had the second easiest schedule. Split 7 teams, bottom 10 in offensive lane ranking. And then in the playoffs, they beat the Bills 10-3. Then when they played the Pittsburgh Steelers, they gave up 42 points. Then they played the New England Patriots with a chance to make it to the Super Bowl, up by 10 points against a quarterback who I felt was overrated, and he dominated them in the fourth quarter.
Are you talking about Tom Brady in the playoffs being overrated? You didn't just go
there.
No,
I said I feel Tom Brady, who I feel right now is overrated.
You just said that.
Who I feel right now
guys,
is overrated.
We're running up short on time, but let me touch upon something real quick. I know, did you guys debate the Astros cheating? Did we
yes,
we did. You did.
Yes, we did.
You did. And I know how Greg feels about that. And Paul, what are your thoughts here?
First of all, the video of you wearing that, what color shirt was that? That was amazing. All right. When you were yelling at Greg like that, like this, that's like meme worthy.
I think Ray Jarvis does a great job of making that a meme in the group, by the way.
Yes. For me, it was the batting averages. And Greg brought up they had a better record on the road than at home, I believe. But for me, it was the batting averages in the playoffs, 2018-2019 season. You saw their 6 best players, Gurriel, Correa, Springer, Altuve, and Bregman. The batting averages at home in the playoffs those 2 years were significantly higher than on the road. I thought that it was a bit fishy. I do believe in home cooking, but that was too odd for me. That was, too much of a coincidence that all 6 players' batting average were at least 50 points higher. I'm sorry, I'm mistaken. Gurriel had a higher average on the road than at home. But for me, it was odd. And then if you look at this season, now that the scope is on them, their batting averages were absolutely terrible. And I cannot say that, oh, well, look, they're still in the AFC, they're still in the championship game because, look, but who did they beat? They beat the Twins, who've lost 18 games in a row in the playoffs, and the Oakland A's, who I love Bob Melvin, but are not a playoff team. They're just pretenders every time they make it to the playoffs. So now that they're playing a real team with real pitching like they did last year, they're getting handled. So for me, I thought they cheated, and I thought it helped them, especially against the Yankees. Although the Yankees offense failed them the last 2 games, I thought that, they at home, the Astros were just superior, too superior for me.
All right. Greg, real quick, because we got hockey on deck. So
yeah.
Who?
We need a GoFundMe.
Hockey. We got hockey on deck.
That's over.
We need a GoFundMe for Paul's Wi-Fi next time he's on. Because
I'm on 2G, Greg. I had to pay my tailor to make my Cleo outfit, so I downgraded to 2G.
So you just went on about.
So Greg, real quick, go ahead, bro.
Yeah, you just went on about how their playoff numbers in that, but this same team that didn't cheat last year went to Game 7 of the World Series. They were AL champs without cheating. That tells you the talent is there. So that kills the majority of your argument already. And furthermore, in the playoffs, as you saw with guys like Aaron Judge, your numbers drop because the pitching is better. That's what happens. That's just the nature of the beast. Playoff pitching is just better overall. You're facing studs every time out. It's not like where you get to beat up on bad teams in a regular season and some guys get to inflate their averages. And all teams cheat in baseball to some degree. Astros did it, took it to another level, right? Got caught. They made a big stink because they won a World Series. Where's the stink about the Red Sox? Where's the stink about the Yankees?
They suspended Cora.
No, I'm not talking about the fan reaction. Everybody hates the Astros because of what they did, because in line to get in there, they beat the Yankees. That's what it really comes down to.
All right, gentlemen, thank you so much for joining me here on this special segment. Paul, I didn't get Miss Cleo, man. I got to be honest with you, bro. I wanted Miss Cleo. I kind of got Paul. So I don't know.
My outfit didn't come yet.
Listen, I don't know what we have to do to get Miss Cleo out, but the Miss Cleo that we see running the streets with the shower cap on and yelling at the screen while he's driving in the middle of in the Bronx or wherever you're at, that's the Miss Cleo we want to bring to the Congress.
Let me get the outfit first.
All right, get the outfit first. Let me know what segment, and we'll definitely do a part 2. Gentlemen, thank you for joining me. Make sure you guys are staying safe. I love you guys, and let's move on to hockey. You're watching the Sports Hit List by the fans and for the fans. You guys take care. Let me bring in my hockey team as we transition. We got a lot more coming up on the show. We're going to talk some
peace
later, bro. Take care.
Let's go.
We're going to talk about some NFL.
What's up?
Here comes the hockey crew. A lot of people in the comments are saying that.
Wait a second, Paul. You want to talk about hockey? Come see me any day.
Listen, I love hockey. I'm so disappointed that the Rangers got rid of the King. I've been following his career since 2005. I'm so disappointed, and I'm not used to this of watching all-time greats retire. It's
not call out hockey.
Paul, come over to the island. Paul, come to the island.
I might have to. I switch teams like I switch flows. So
you sound like Marcus Lamar. You sound like Marcus Lamar. He does the same thing.
Oh, here we go. Listen, guys. So people don't believe hockey even belongs here on the platform. So you guys got like 5-10 minutes while people are watching to convince them that you guys deserve airtime, because I'm getting flack from people saying, why is hockey even on here right now? So you guys, the people are going to speak. Listen, I'm flooding the text about why hockey's even on here, but you guys want to recap the draft, right? So Chuck, let's start with you.
The Rangers, I think, had a good draft. They took what they did at number 1, Alexis Lafreniere. I think I said that correctly. It was a smart move by them. We didn't see as many trades as I thought that we would. I guess teams, without having, your regular, scouting games because of the pandemic and everything, I think teams were just more set on just making their picks and moving on. The Islanders had no 2 first-rounders. So I can't really touch on them. But they did draft a bunch of wingers, so I'm happy. And shout out to oh my God, what's his name? The kid who went second. Oh my God, I forgot his name.
Quinton Byfield.
Oh, Byfield, my God, what a day. But he was the highest African American player ever to be drafted. So shout out to him. And I'm happy to see that now we're starting to see a little bit more of diversity within the NHL.
All right, Mike, what were your thoughts on the draft? Well, Sparacino.
First off, hey, Carl, how you doing? We kind of just got thrown in there. But no, overall, I think, especially on the Rangers' part, they did exactly what they needed to do. As Charlie said, selected first, our Lord and Savior, Alexis Lafreniere. 19th overall, ended up trading up for the pick to take old school defender Braden Schneider. I like that pick a lot, and they got a lot of good value picks later in the draft, and they went forward heavy compared to the last 2 drafts where they went defense heavy. So I think they did exactly what they needed to do, and I think they nailed it.
Phillips, what do you think, bro?
What's going on? First and foremost, I'm going to get to your comments after this about why NHL should even be on here, but I'm going to talk about the draft first. And I'm going to come for anybody that's coming from me. So before that, the draft was as we expected it to be. And the reason why is because there's a lot of tentativeness on certain trades because a lot of teams are going young, right? This is why we saw someone like the King, Henrik Lundqvist, we saw him get bought out. We're seeing a lot of players from other teams that were traded for late round picks because teams are wanting to go younger. The best draft pick, I thought, besides obviously the Rangers going number 1, was Tim Stützle. And the reason why is I actually think he's going to be the real one that is truly NHL ready at the beginning. I think Ottawa got him on a steal, but I think their antics were the best with having Alex Trebek introduce him in the draft. So I thought that was great. I thought overall it was good. Like Chuck said, I'm surprised that there weren't a lot of trades. I'm very upset that Henrik Lundqvist is now a Washington Capital, but I do understand. As a Ranger fan, I will be there front row to watch him play against us because unlike other sports hit listers, I still go for my team, even if my favorite player goes to another team. That's a different story. You know who I'm coming for. What?
Listen. To be honest, the hit list streets have been so petty as of late. I don't even know where to start. It's like from contributor to contributor. I don't know if we just need to have a hit list Royal Rumble so we could just duke it all out because it seems like shots fly everywhere. I wake up to thousands of texts.
Listen,
it's
Carl,
crazy.
Carl, and I was actually, Carl, I'm actually going to be doing a lot. I'm going to do a video on this, and I'm going to give it to you to put on the sports hit list. But there is too many fair-weathered fans, and I'm tired of it. I'm tired of them jumping in and saying their team is the best when they only joined because of a certain player. You know, the LeBronians, the Tom Brady's, they need to stop because they take away from the true love of the game. And that's why hockey belongs here, because of the true love of the game, because there's not just one superstar. There's not just a Sidney Crosby anymore. There are true players that make a team better. Team, not one player making a team playing dynamically together, 5 players on the ice playing together. There's not just one player deking. There's still the opportunity to pass the puck. There's still the opportunity to make that hit, and there's still that save that helps them win championships. That's the difference between hockey and other sports, where we have one player on a basketball court that we think takes over, like the LeBronians always want to say, with his 4th championship and everything else. Great. Glad for the Lakers. I'm actually happy for the actual Laker fans that have been there with the Jared Hill or whatever his name was that was, running center for the Lakers.
Jordan Hill, for a while.
I had to say. But that's what I mean. There's Laker fans that are real fans that will remember that stuff, and there's Laker fans that don't remember until LeBron brought Anthony Davis in. So that there's different stories there. But,
guys, to kind of wrap up with free agency, any shocking developments there? Sparacino.
Yeah, I was very surprised that Taylor Hall chose the Buffalo Sabres of all teams, because he flat out basically said he wanted to win. And then as soon as I found out he signed on Buffalo, I'm like, all right, this guy was just in it for the paycheck, not to win. Because Buffalo, I don't see them being anywhere near a championship contender with their current roster construction. Even though they beefed up the top 6 of their forwards, I still don't see them as a contender.
All right, let's go to Charlie. Any developments for you when it comes to free agency?
I gotta agree with Mike. I think Taylor Hall taking a 1-year deal, just trying, to get as much money as he can. Now, I hate to say that a player shouldn't get as much money as they can, because I don't like to watch players' pockets. But I think you're at a point in your career where you want to win, and Taylor Hall is a fantastic player. And I think the cap's going to be flat for not only next season, but the seasons after. So is Taylor Hall just going to run around and chase after money? So I don't know. But the Islanders made a trade finally, got rid of Devon Toews, which hurts in a way because he is a terrific player, good two-way defenseman. But they got back 2 2s. They need to clear up cap space, and they got to do that by getting rid of Johnny Boychuk, Thomas Hickey, Andrew Ladd, and hopefully they can land a top 6 forward, maybe a Mike Hoffman, trade for Laine, someone. But free agency has been fun so far, but we haven't seen as much activity because of the pandemic.
All right, guys, thank you so much for joining me on our transitional hockey segment to inform the people. Mike, I think you have a debate with Marcus coming up next week. I believe he said yes, he'd agreed to it when you guys talk about Tom Brady and Bill Belichick. So that one will be a little bit spicy because I know there's a lot of, like I said, a lot of pettiness going on in the hitless streets. And I'm looking forward to that debate. You guys take care. So, Mike, be ready because I know it'll be a good one.
Sounds good.
Thanks.
All right, guys, take care. I think Chuck is sticking around for some football, right? Because I know Chuck has a lot to say. Let me bring in some of my football contributors as we transition. You're watching the Sports Hit List by the fans and for the fans, live exclusively on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. Thank you for sticking around. Thank you for all the people who are watching right now. We got Manny, we got Marcus, Andres, Paul is watching again, Ziggy, everyone who's watching the Hit List Streets. I thank you. I appreciate you guys watching our content, whether you like it, whether you love it. Everyone's watching. You guys are enjoying. Let me introduce my panel. Box Office, how you doing, sir?
I'm doing good, sir. I got something to say, but go ahead and introduce everybody.
I know everybody has a lot to say today. We got Chuck is sitting around. He texted me last night. He's like, Carl, we got to go live about these goddamn Jets. We got MVP is in the building. MVP, how you doing, man?
All right. I'm doing great. USA Paul the Great. I in the interest of what I just witnessed go down from the other Paul, I need to make sure that the world knows the real Paul is available.
With the real Paul, please stand up. Declan, how you doing, man? What's up, sir?
Carl, thanks for having me. Super excited today. I can't even get into it.
All right, so let me give up some updated standings we have.
Hold on, Paul. Hold on. I got something to chime in.
So I get interrupted. You know what?
I'm sorry. Listen, I need to talk about what just happened about 10 minutes ago, all right? I don't know what you did to that man, but that was not Paul who showed up there, all right?
I did nothing.
Paul, if you watching this, I'm going to tell you this right now. You just got Rocky 3'd, okay? You just got Clubber Lang, all right? I'm going to need you. Let me Apollo Creed you. Let me teach you some rhythm before we set up this rematch, because that was terrible. I don't even like Paul, but that was my least favorite Paul. That was the least favorite one. That was terrible.
I sent him a message. I sent it to him. I was like, listen, I wanted Miss Cleo and I got Paul.
Right, we need vlog Paul. I want loud and belligerent Paul.
Yes, this is true.
That might have been one of the biggest flops I've seen. It's probably like a movie in 2007, bro. Like the superhero remakes that flopped or something like that.
Yeah.
That was Batman and Robin.
I did the best I could because you saw me trying to bait. You saw me trying to put. I was trying. Trying.
Oh my God!
I had it with the Kevin Durant, but I didn't.
Paul, come with me. Get in the gym. We're gonna teach you some rhythm. You know what I'm saying? Get you. You got to get the eye of the tiger back because that was terrible.
Before we get started, I got one request. No longer call that man by the name of Paul. Please.
I'm sorry. What are we calling him? I'm sorry.
2 calls in the sports group. Me and another cool guy named Roberti. I don't got no beef with him. These are the only 2 calls that are available.
Okay, so you know what? We got to give him like the playoff P nickname. Is that fair to say?
They took your name away. You gonna let these men take your name away? That's terrible.
Call him Scandemic P. There we go.
Right. All right. So I know Chuck had a lot to say last night. Chuck sent me a text after the Jets news. He said, Carl, I need 5 minutes. So can I get on the NFL segment? So we figured that's the hot topic right now. What happened with the Jets? Chuck, the floor is yours. Make it quick because Travis needs his time too.
Yeah, of course. Don't worry. Listen, them releasing Le'Veon Bell was the final straw, and I'm going to rip my hair out.
Okay, but before you even start that, last week, keep in mind, you ripped the Yankees. So this week now you're ripping the Jets. So I mean, I don't know where you stand with your teams anymore.
My whole sports fandom is in like complete destruction.
Through New York, I love it.
Right? First off, I'm gonna blame Donnie Trump for hiring Woody Johnson to go over to the UK and leaving his brother in charge, who doesn't know his ass from his elbow, probably doesn't even know the first thing about football, and hiring Adam Gase. They hired Adam Gase over Matt Rule. Travis could speak about Matt Rule quickly. Over Cliff Kingsbury, over Mike McCarthy, which is but still I would take Mike McCarthy. They had the options, and they hired Adam Gase, who was just fired from a team in their own division. So you saw him more than anybody else. He was in your division. How did you not realize this? All right. His first year, he got a pass because they went 7-9 because they played peewee football teams for half the season. All right. Then coming into this year, the offense is still struggling. The offensive line is terrible. He doesn't know how to use Le'Veon Bell. He is probably the best dual threat back in, I guess, his generational time from when he first started. All right. How do you not realize how to get him touches? Yes, you might hand the ball off to him, but what does it matter when he's running 1st and 10 into a line that can't block anybody? Then all the receivers stink. Sam Darnold has regressed tremendously. He got Joe Douglas the job. And Adam Gase doesn't even like to talk to the media. He fights with the media. Do you know what he said today about Le'Veon Bell? That his usage of him is now irrelevant because he got rid of him. No, I want to know why you did not use him the way you were supposed to. How do you not use a man of this talent? Why is Frank Gore getting more touches? Why? Sunday we have Joe Flacco and Frank Gore starting. Can you believe that? Frank Gore and Joe Flacco, like this is 2009. You just drafted a quarterback in the 4th round to be Sam's backup QB of the future. Why is he not in the damn football game? You drafted LaMichael Pirine in the 3rd round. Why is he not getting more carries? You even said that you didn't want to take touches away from P. Ryan, but he doesn't get touches to begin with. I do not understand. Adam Gase has a personal vendetta against his players. They're always hurt, and this goes back to his Miami days. Why does Chris Johnson not see this? We see it. Paul sees it. Travis sees it. Declan sees it. People on the hit list see it.
I see it.
The NFL, why does nobody see it? I do not understand. I'm getting red. I'm redder than Carl's shirt and Paul's hat right now because this makes sense to me. I don't get it. What do they see every Sunday? I don't even have to watch games to know that this team stinks when they're getting blown out by 20 plus. I do not understand. When does it end? This team needs a big overhaul. They need to get rid of everyone.
I just want to throw something out there because I feel Charlie's frustration.
Never seen him like that.
No, I know. I saw him like that last week. I think. No, I think this was worse than the Yankees one, right, Declan? I think this one was a lot worse.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I only got one thing for you, Charlie. I know I got this hat on, but the reality is, it's the Mickey Mouse Clubhouse. It's the Mickey Mouse Clubhouse going on right now in East Rutherford, and it's a damn shame. And you, as a Jets fan, you have every right to be frustrated, my friend. It's the Mickey Mouse Clubhouse.
Okay, Trav, box office. How do we fix this? I mean, I clearly Gase has to go, but after
that's
that,
first
what's
step.
next?
First step.
That's the first step. But what else could they do, possibly to even salvage the season or even salvage a franchise?
I mean, let's not talk about salvaging the season. The season's over because then I highly doubt Adam. The sad part about it is you don't see where a win comes for this team this season. That's the sad part right there. But you said you got the draft picks for Jamal Adams, so hopefully you sit there and use that right. You're gonna be. I'm on the fence on what do you do with Sam Darnold at this point. I mean, do you try and trade him for? I mean, if you're in the Trevor Lawrence sweepstakes, do you try and trade Darnold and take Trevor Lawrence? But why bring Trevor Lawrence into this? Don't ruin another quarterback. I mean,
could I just before Deck gets in here, I just want to throw something out there. Don't you think it's a bit odd that a franchise would allow Adam Gase to part ways with his best player on offense and defense? Not technically answer the question, as Chuck alluded to earlier, right? Blows off the media. They sit out a guy in Sam Darnold who they just allowed to play, who was able to play, for a 40-year-old quarterback who shouldn't be in the sport. Why is Sam Darnold even get a pass, right? I mean, we've all witnessed what we've seen with Darnold before. We made excuses for Sam Darnold, right? We did what they do all the time for these quarterbacks. They didn't make excuses for Lamar Jackson. They didn't make excuses for Mike Vick. They didn't make excuses for Donovan McNabb. And I'm not here to paint the race color, but here's what I'm going to say. You don't think it's odd that you have a team willing to leave $20 million on the table in dead money to get rid of a guy that you're not even using, right? If anything, you could have benched Le'Veon Bell. Right? You put him on the streets yesterday. In the middle of a practice, you fired him. You fired him on his day off. Right? And Sam Darnold is just.
We going back to Friday. Right? We going back to Friday.
Let me answer that because the cupboard is bare. We all know. We don't really know what Sam Darnold truly is yet because there's no weapons there. His coach is terrible. So in some way he kind of gets a pass.
No, absolutely not.
No, wait, let me finish.
Ryan Fitzpatrick went years with no weapons.
To bring some of the names you had up. Donovan McNabb, he didn't have any weapons, but he had Andy Reid. Who else did
Listen. Manny is telling you box office to apologize right now. Saying to apologize.
Oh, okay, all right. Hold on. Manny,
you know, before we get to that, Declan's been so patient and quiet.
Right.
Deck, go ahead, man.
Let that cook.
Nobody wants to hear what a Giants fan has to say anymore, and that's sad and true. But what I will say here about Adam Gase, Greg's calling for me to rip him. I'm going to rip him. It won't be that hard, considering we added Le'Veon Bell to the book club of people who, NFL skill players especially that have had issues with him. They're going to be meeting in the stands like Baker Mayfield's book club in Cleveland, whether it's Jay Ajayi, Jarvis Landry, Jamal Adams, Ryan Tannehill especially, who's now a franchise quarterback in Tennessee. Lev Bell yesterday. What happened?
Kenyon Drake.
Absolutely.
Devontae Parker.
Kenyon Drake, Parker.
Mike Gesicki.
Who's now playing good.
Lamar Miller too.
The names go on and on. Which is why, Paul, I'm sorry, Declan, which is why you can't really criticize Darnold because players regress under Gase. It's proven.
I'm with Chuck on this one. I'm sorry to go against you, Paul, but I have to with Sam Darnold here. And I understand, Donovan McNabb. We don't make excuses for a lot of guys, and I totally get your point because the sad reality is that it's pretty relevant. Dwayne Haskins, I personally don't think he's great, but we don't see the excuses being made for him as there are for Daniel Jones. So I will throw that out there. As far as Sam Darnold goes, that line is terrible. They can't block anybody. Jeff Smith sounds like the weatherman on Eyewitness News because I think the weatherman on Eyewitness News is named Jeff Smith. We got random guys playing receiver. We got Frank Gore, who's about 90 years old, running the ball. Joe Flacco's the backup, whatever. Sam Darnold's hurt. I don't know why they don't put in the young kid, James Morgan from FIU, as Chuck said. We're going to have to make excuses if we look at Adam Gase as the head coach, the amount of players he's ruined. Like, part of me almost hopes that, they do ship Sam Darnold to a team like Pittsburgh or something, let him sit for a year with Ben, or even just ship him anywhere so he can be in a position to succeed in the slightest. Sam Darnold has shown great moments his rookie year, although he did have an interception total that was a little bit too high, but then again, a lot of rookies, that's typical. His rookie year, he showed you something. Last year, he didn't show you much, although he did have an above 500 record. This year, he's showing you nothing at all, but who on the Jets really is showing you anything? It's a tough environment to succeed. They let Le'Veon Bell, who's produced probably at one of the higher rates in the NFL in the 2010s, they let him walk for nothing. They couldn't get a 7th-round draft pick for him. It's just ridiculous to me personally to see it. I'll let everybody else kind of get going here.
Before we get going, because I know we got a couple minutes, I just want to give everyone the standings. Travis, I just want to give everyone the standings on the predictions picks. Rick is still in the lead.
Week last week, baby.
You did, but you're still in 4th place though. Rick is still Rick has 39 in 1st place. Travis is in 2nd at 36. Ray is in 3rd at 34. And MVP, you're in 4th at 32. And Womack and Travis are tied right now, 27 apiece, going into week 6. So just giving everyone the update. Rick is still in the lead right now. Travis is necking. He's right there, 3 more picks. I think the advantage is Rick is not losing any points as much. And going by off, Rick had 9 wins last week. So he has to slow down in order for you guys to catch up. You guys can keep playing catch up all season, but Rick has to make some false predictions, and he hasn't been able to do that in 5 weeks. That's all I'm saying.
I got a solution to slow Rick down. We're gonna disconnect his Wi-Fi.
Let me hit one more point on the Bell thing.
Okay.
I'm not in New York, so I don't see the local coverage of it. But on the national shows, I'm seeing a narrative being switched.
Absolutely.
Like, a lot of people are starting to come at Bell for some reason. Is it because the Jets don't get a lot of national coverage and they don't know what's really going on there?
Do you know why, Travis?
Why?
You know why? Because the Jets probably have the worst beat writers in the NFL, and they take any chance they could to attack the team. Rich Cimini does it. Brian Costello does it. Manish Mehta got his credentials revoked because all he does is take shots at the team. Everything about the Jets is terrible. It's laughable.
Okay.
And my frustration, which really digs down, is I really don't get. I don't think Adam Gase is getting fired anytime soon because he has more, because his hands are all over the Jets more than we realize. This is his general manager. The acting owner right now loves him. So I think he's here to stay, and I think that's why he gets a pass with the media, because there are no repercussions. He's not worried about his job being lost because he has everybody in his back pocket.
Okay, guys, real quick, let's touch upon the other top story after week 5 we had is Dak Prescott. You hate to see that happen to any athlete. Prayers out to him and his family, especially what he's dealing with. I know his middle brother, took his life early on this year. So, prayers out to Dak that he has a speedy recovery. But what do the Cowboys do now? Paul.
It's unfortunate. I'm on the record for saying I thought Dak should have took that contract. the 5 times they offered him the contract, north of $30 million a year. Worst case scenario, obviously, hindsight speaking, this is exactly what took place. I'm very curious to see what the Jones family does. I mean, they've been out there pretending to talk big game. Dak's still our quarterback of the future. But let's see it, right? Because there will be no greater accountability to be had if they do not take care of Dak, considering they still say he is their QB of the future. So I'm curious. The smart money says they move on from Dak Prescott. I don't know how salvageable Andy Dalton, who is the highest paid backup in the NFL, I don't know what he can do. I'm hoping, you get a vintage Andy Dalton and he can get you into the playoffs in that weak division. But I'm curious to see what happens. But history tells me that they'll be drafting a quarterback in the first round, one of the plethora of great quarterbacks that are out there. They won't pick up the phone and call Colin Kaepernick, who's an easy choice. They won't pick up the phone and call for Jameis Winston, who could be another viable option. They won't do any of those things that you think a team that has championship aspirations would do. So I'm curious to see what happens in Dallas.
All right, just around the room, Chuck, real quick thoughts on Dak.
I mean, it sucks. I think Paul hit it right in the head. I believe he should have took the contract when he got one. It wasn't like the Cowboys were lowballing him, but I think they offered him a pretty reasonable thing. They're going to ride the season out with Dalton. That's why they gave him the 2-year, $14 million contract or whatever it was. But it's very key to see what they do after this season. Now, first we got to see if Dak's even going to be able to play, which I hope that he does. But will they give him the contract? And listen, the Cowboys can always go after Sam Darnold. If Jerry wants to get on the horn and give me a first, I'll take it at this point. But it's very interesting to see. I don't think they're going to trade for anybody in season because the options really aren't out there. And I think 6-7 wins could definitely win you that division because it's absolutely horrible. So I don't think they're going to panic for this year. But going forward with the Cowboys, and I think they got more holes on that team than we actually realize. So it's going to be very interesting to see how the rest of the season plays out.
Declan, thoughts real quick on Dak?
Yeah, I'll try to make it quick. I was on the road during the game, and then I came home, kind of rewatched some of the highlights, looked at that whole injury slow-mo. It was tough to not, get emotional about it. It was really upsetting to see a guy who, although, maybe he definitely should have took the contract, you can't fault the guy for betting on himself. It's something that I think is an admirable trait to have, to go off and bet on yourself. And although, they were losing for the season so far, he was playing good football. Some of it garbage time, you could say that, but he was throwing the ball pretty well. And it sucks. All around it sucks. You hate to see it. It's upsetting. He's obviously been through a lot. He's only been ripped by Skip Bayless for coming out and saying he battled with depression, which is disgusting, by the way. But that's a topic for another 3-hour segment. If we're going to get into it, though, Andy Dalton was playing pretty good. He actually threw the ball really well towards the end of that Giants game, got them the win for sure. That ball to Michael Gallup down the sideline was like vintage, like maybe this guy could be good, Andy Dalton, back when we thought that in 2012. I like what I see from them a little bit in the passing game with him, but overall the Dak situation sucks. But I don't know what they're going to do moving forward because, Dak's not going to play under a tag again. They're not going to give him more money or even the same money they were going to give him, especially guaranteed-wise. So it should be interesting. I don't know if they'll take a quarterback in the first round, but if they put themselves in position to do so, maybe.
Marcus Lamar just threw a shout-out and said he likes you, Dak. So it's a compliment.
At least he likes somebody. Thank
you. Travis, real quick on Dak, what should they do? I know you're all about players getting paid. I know you've gone on a rant about that for a while.
Listen, man, it's a terrible situation, and my prayers go out to him, man. But I partly agree with Dak, man. I think at the end, this might work out in the case for both sides, because I highly doubt that the Cowboys are going to be willing to lock themselves into a long-term deal with Dak. So therefore, you offer him a short-term deal to see how he heals up. We all know that the cap is going to go down next year and probably the year after that, so the money might not be as good. So hopefully by the time he heals up, he's able to hit the market again in 2 years and get that big money that he was looking for. But as far as the Cowboys, give me a second here to cook, Carl, because I got something working. I think the Cowboys are going to end up in the same place that this team is going to end up no matter what. I think when it comes to quarterbacks, I look at it as this. Quarterbacks and teams, there are two different types of quarterbacks. There are your trucks and then there are your trailers. There are your quarterbacks who are pulling the trailer, and then there's your quarterbacks who are being pulled by the trailer. For what it was worth, I think Dak was trying to be a trailer. I mean, whether he succeeded or failed at that is up for debate. But I think there's enough horsepower in this truck for them to pull Andy Dalton along. So wherever this team was going to end up at the end of the year, I think they still end up at that same place. Whatever their record was going to be, it's just going to look different. I think they're going to morph back into what they were in Dak's rookie year with that heavy Zeke, and then hopefully time of possession and ball control. That'll keep that terrible defense off the field. So at the end, I think the team ends up wherever they were going to end up with the same record, to be honest with you.
Okay, I don't think we have some time to do what we normally do with our regular schedule programming because the Jets was so important. We couldn't get a chance to get giving out game balls. There is no Thursday night game on the slate this week. I believe they're going to start on Sunday, and they have 2 games on Monday. I'm looking at the schedule now. If I'm wrong, tell me. But it doesn't seem like there's a schedule for tomorrow because I guess they played Tuesday.
Got moved.
Yeah, it got moved. So, but
Monday supposed to be Bills Chiefs, I think.
Yeah, I think that game got moved. So on Sunday, we'll definitely make our picks on the kickoff show. But guys, thank you so much for joining me. Deck, you had something to say?
Yeah, could I just propose a really quick question? I promise it won't take too long.
Yeah, go ahead.
I just wanted to know what you guys thought the repercussions of the situation would be like had Dak signed that contract. Like right now, if he got injured a couple months into this new contract, what the thoughts in Dallas would be?
There would be no thoughts. I mean, they would obviously be thinking in their mind, damn, this is the worst thing that could have possibly happened. But all along, the Joneses have said that Dak is their quarterback, right? Even though they signed Dalton, I don't think there's ever a bad decision to have a good backup quarterback in the NFL. I think even more so with COVID this year, you need it, i.e. the Patriots. We've seen how bad they look not having a true backup plan with Cam Newton. So, I mean, I don't think there would be much repercussions.
Yeah, to go off what Paul said, I don't think you really can even say anything negative about it because injuries happen in the game, especially in the NFL. But I think what really got everybody emotional with Dak is seeing the entire sideline come off to him as he was carted off, which shows you that he's a leader. That's the guy you want leading your football team at the biggest position on a football team. So I think not Jones. Dak has to be the quarterback of the Cowboys going future because he's their leader, and you saw it Sunday while he was being carted off.
Yeah, Travis. To answer
Manny, Manny, I will have. I see him in the comments. I will have your official apology for you on Sunday. Man.
Manny's real petty.
He's been coming to me about these Raiders. I will have a nice formal apology for you on Sunday. All right.
But what is this apology about?
Somehow he has me painted as a Raiders hater, even though I was the only one who I didn't pick them to win, but I gave them the greatest shot for an upset Sunday. But for some reason, he has me pegged as a hater, so I'll give him his apology on Sunday.
I'll say this.
Go ahead.
Sorry, quickly. You may be a Cam hater, but I haven't seen the Raiders.
Why does everybody think I'm a Cam hater? I am not a Cam hater. I'm objective. It's objectivity, okay? And Cam was not the greatest thing that ever happened to the Panthers.
Luke Keeper.
I mean, he did lead your team to a Super Bowl, even though they didn't win. I mean, how could you not?
I mean, we got the Super Bowl before. They didn't lose before he was there. We got the Super Bowl before and lost again.
But to answer Deck, but Travis, to answer Deck's question about the contract, how did you see that playing out if he did sign it?
I mean, it would be locked in. I mean, they would just have to wait for him to heal up. I mean, like I said, it sucks that he wasn't able to get that contract. But like Deck said, I will never shame a man for betting on himself. I mean, the guy didn't miss. He never missed a game before this. So
you don't want to shame him for betting on himself. I will. I'm a guy.
No, I don't know. You can't, man. He felt he was
matters, man.
He never missed a game before this.
Right. It doesn't matter. The beauty of the NFL in the game that those guys play is every play out there you can get hurt. That's the beauty of the game.
Yeah, you got to take that money.
So Joe Flacco was stupid to bet on himself?
All right,
Joe
guys.
Flacco do the better himself.
Guys, thank you so much. We got to move on to Winner's Circle, which we have to close out the show today. We'll have more on the NFL kickoff show. We'll have the predictions. As I said before, Rick is in the lead. You guys, thank you, Chuck, for pulling the doubleheader. Declan, thank you for coming on. Trav, I'll talk to you on Sunday. Send me those long notes. We're ready for game time weeks. And Paul's going to stick around. Let me bring in Ray Jarvis, who I believe is still having some champagne from Sunday. I don't know if it rolled over into Wednesday. Let me ask him. Ray, are you still celebrating? You have some more champagne or are you done?
I'm still celebrating. I don't know when that's going to stop.
I heard that. I was just watching The Jump with Rachel Nichols. She said that the Lakers' official parade has been postponed until they can actually have one for the fans. I don't know how that's actually going to work if we're dealing with free agency and the players may not even be around. How could you have a celebration when during the NBA season? I don't know how the Lakers are going to pull that off.
Well, listen. If you saw LA Sunday night, the parade already happened.
We saw.
You know what I'm saying?
We saw
a movie in LA.
We did. But we wanted to discuss here. You guys, Winner's Circle. I let you guys navigate your own stories. What you guys want to talk about? I saw you guys want to talk about the recap of the Game 6. Also, what does AD do going into free agency? Is he going to up? Will he get like maybe a 2-year deal? Will he sign a full max? Floor is yours, Paul.
I mean, obviously, the preliminary choice for me would be obviously AD stays in LA. Although we've seen crazier things happen in the sports. Why would you leave LA? Right? Like if you AD, right?
Because to come to Boston. Let me stop.
Yeah, as his daddy told you a while ago, he would never stay in Boston. But I mean, the smart money says you stay there. You should opt out because that's the right business move. And he probably does one of those 3-and-1s, and then has the ability for a super max at the end at the tail end of LeBron's contract. So that's smart money.
From basically what I saw, Magic Johnson talking to Stephen A. yesterday, we already know Magic Johnson has a terrible way of holding water. He kind of spills the beans as soon as he speaks. So from what I saw with Magic, Stephen A. and Max, AD's here. AD's locked in. You know, LeBron gave his 3+1. I expect the same thing for AD 3+1. The Lakers will get Anthony Davis's prime. All of this hype, pomp, and circumstance surrounding will he go, won't he go? If y'all want to listen to Woj lie to y'all again, be my guest. But once again, I'm telling you right here, AD is a Laker. He's going to become a vested Laker. There will be multiple championships with AD as a Laker. And whether it's 23 or 3, there will be a jersey just for AD. I'm putting it on wax right now.
I agree. I do want to shift gears as we talk about AD being a vested Laker. Now, you've been highly critical of LeBron James, pre-LA, current LA, even as recent as a week ago. And I respect all of your viewership and your opinions toward Mr. LeBron James. But the fact that he has delivered what he told you he would 2 years ago, does that change anything about your feelings toward LeBron James, the basketball player?
Bro, like I said in the Lakerbration, you know, whatever free smoke I have for him, we got to put that on pause because when the season restarts and I see the BS, I'm going to call it how I see it. That's what I do. Again, no guac 2020. That means I don't ride this man. I don't slurp this man. If he does well, I salute. If he does tomfoolery, I criticize. That's my body. That's my vibe. And that's all it is. Right now, he came through. He delivered a championship. He got the Lakers out of the doldrums. He got that Knicks stench off the Lakers. And I got to give credit once again where it's due. LeBron brought us home. He brought us back to our status as the #1 franchise in the NBA, a Mount Rushmore franchise in all of sports. All hail the king.
Now, I just want to switch gears a tad bit. And, Carl, you can chime in on this, too.
Fix your face, Carl.
Since we got on matching outfits.
It's hard. It's hard to do that, man. I can't lie. Like, I'm green with envy. Pun intended. You know? Since
we suddenly decided that we're matching outfits on this Wednesday. Let's talk about Frank Vogel, right? Because we all were a little up in the air in regards to, we thought it was weird with the Caruso in the lineup, Game 6. Well, we being the people. I mean, me and you, I think we're on board with
the hitless streets. The hitless streets
was like,
the hitless streets, man. The hitless congregation.
We know worldwide they couldn't wait for a game 7, a choke and all this other stuff. Right? I seen LaChoke trending on Twitter. I seen LaFraud on Twitter. I seen a lot of stuff. I seen somebody even have a hashtag cut off the brow. Like I seen a lot going on Twitter. Right. Wow. So deeply when we talk about the game of basketball, we don't ever typically give credit to the coaching, right? Because we know in the NBA, talent is what wins, right? But let's just spend a little bit of time talking about Frank Vogel and I think the adjustments he made, which ultimately I think led to bringing those guys home.
Oh yeah. I mean, well, go ahead, Joff. Go ahead.
I just want to give once again a whole ton of credit and flowers to Frank Vogel. A lot of people fronted on him, but if you look throughout the playoffs, we already see the cakewalk energy heavy on the internet. But each series, he made the necessary defensive tweak to get us over the hump. If anything looked wrong, Frank Vogel fixed it. I got a text message from Andres. He was laughing about Caruso going into the starting lineup. He can screenshot it and share it in the group. I said, if Caruso's in the starting lineup, that means Frank Vogel saw something on film that he knows he can fix by way of tweaking the lineup and do the necessary things to get the W. You saw how they steamrolled Miami in Game 6, how they swarmed defensively. He did a hell of a job. The half-court offense might be vanilla, but when you play the LeBron system, the system is always going to be vanilla. But defensively speaking, he got a buy-in from a LeBron coach that we haven't seen since the Spoelstra years in Miami. LeBron was fully on board with Vogel, which means that whatever he was spitting, they were buying it. Shout out to Jason Kidd, because I'm pretty sure Jason Kidd was a buffer in between Vogel and the rest of the team. When they felt like Vogel was doing too much, I'm pretty sure Jay Kidd was saying, listen, just do this for him. Buy in. Do the necessary things. Guys bought in. You have to give the coach credit. And again, I talk about this on the gray area heavily. If you're a head coach and you coach to win as opposed to coaching your way, you're a my kind of coach. He did not sell out his way for W's. He said, you know what? If this works, we going to do it and we going to win. Give Frank Vogel his flowers. If you say otherwise, you're a clown.
Yeah, there's nothing much left to say. Clearly, as Paul said, coaches do get ignored, which is why we have our own resident coach to be advocate for coaches. But I think it takes a lot to coach, and just look at the personalities and egos he even had. It's one thing to coach the X's and O's, but you have to be a coach in order to manage those. You have a guy like Rondo, who was a head case, who walked out on Rick Carlisle, and people thought his career was done. You had another guy like Dwight Howard, who people thought was done after his whole thing with Stan Van Gundy and him even dealing with Kevin McHale, and people wrote off his ship. So he had a lot of different personalities, and I thought for me impressively is when you're able to contain guys and not only coach them X's and O's, but able to maintain the locker room that, there's no dirty laundry coming out, there's no fights, and there's no things going on there. That's also a part of the job too. So for him to be able to do that, I thought was definitely impressive, and just managing egos.
And I love hearing you say that, Carl. I love it.
It's hard for me to say, but I can be objective when I want to be.
And the only thing I'll add to that is I think, I'll add two things. Also, I appreciate, you heard about the reports of Lionel Hollins, obviously up there in age and being a high-risk person, not being in the bubble, FaceTiming during half times and practices, who's always been a defensive wizard. So shout out to that man for being that committed even away from the game and not even being in the environment, right? But the fanboys out there, there's a few of them. I seen them in the comments earlier throwing shade at Greg. I want to say this because the hardest thing I think in the NBA of all sports is to coach superstars, right?
Mm-hmm.
Phil Jackson is even ranked high, and he probably even deserves to be because how he handled superstars at that point, right? I'm not even sure he's the best coach of all time. But all we know, right? But all we know,
listen, we all have our own favorite coaches, man.
Right? No, but what I'm saying is, but all we know is we seen Phil coach Jordan, we seen him coach Kobe, we seen him coach Shaq, we seen him get more out of Powell. We seen Phil, right? So when I think about the impact of Frank Vogel, I also got to give some credit to the prowess of one LeBron James, who historically wasn't the most coachable superstar of all time. And I think for the first time, I could honestly say, even past Spoelstra, I seen a LeBron play off ball and let Rondo run the offense. I watched him even let Caruso at times run the offense. And I said to myself, that's a coach in the film room saying, this is what we need you to do in order for us to be better. And I got to give some credit for that because I think obviously it's a two-way street, right? That's like Rockaway Parkway. You can't just go down one way, baby. It requires two to tango. So huge shout out to LeBron. I'm sure his biggest fans out there will agree. Now, I do.
But Paul, before we move on, since you touched upon greatest coach of all time off the top, we don't even need to get explaining. Who's your greatest coach of all time? And I'll ask Ray the same question. I'll give you guys mine.
I'll let Ray go first.
Go ahead, Ray.
Phil Jackson. I don't need to hesitate.
I disagree.
And that's fine. Like I don't. Carl, I expect you to disagree because I'm pretty sure you're picking some generic guy. But
no, it's not generic. I go with facts.
Anyway, when you come with Phil Jackson, to Paul's point, Floss God himself, to manage those personalities and incorporate a system that was basically unstoppable to the tune of, 11 championships? Like, come on. Like, at the end of the day, like, if we want to downsize winning for preference and all type of nonsense, that's cute. But when it comes to getting some of the craziest personalities to buy in together and get them to play at their peak together, because it wasn't like one guy had to do this and another guy had to do that. We got Shaq and Kobe at their peak to the tune of 3 championships, right? Then Powell and Kobe at their peak to the tune of 2 championships. Jordan and Pippen to the tune of 6 championships. And these guys played at the highest of levels. That's coaching. Salute to Tex Winter. These guys got these players to do it repeatedly. It's one thing to win 1 championship. This is what a lot of y'all fans get twisted. It's one thing to win 1 championship, maybe 2, but to continuously win and then win again, and then win again, and then win again. Wash, rinse, repeat. That takes a level of dedication. That takes a level of focus. That takes a level of fine-tuning that focus by way of your coach, doing silly things like camping and making them read books. Phil Jackson is the greatest coach of all time. If you disagree, I really don't care.
He did get some points for that trip to Vegas via the Last Dance documentary.
Let's talk about doing what's necessary to win. Phil Jackson.
Okay, Paul, who do you got? Are you taking Phil too?
For the sake of a debate, I would say Greg Popovich. And I will tell you why I say Greg Popovich.
Someone just said, before you go, someone said in the comments he couldn't manage Dennis Rodman, which is why he shipped him to Chicago.
But he did, though.
I disagree. But he managed.
That was part of the process.
He managed. He managed. So a great leader, for those listening and watching, is one who can manage him while he's current and then manage him out of the business, right? And that's exactly what great leadership does. There is a time when it's time to hang it up. And I'm afraid that when they cut ties with Dennis, it was over for Dennis. He was Mr. Entertainment at that point. But to answer your question, Carl, I'm going to go Greg Popovich only because I watched Greg Popovich change his system, which you don't always see for someone who can continuously win at a high level, using different pieces in tune to what's going on with the actual game of basketball. The Spurs team you seen win with Robinson and Duncan was not the same Spurs team you seen knock off the Heat dynasty. So when I think about that and what he did over the longevity of a bunch of no-namers' careers, with the exception of Tim Duncan, I'm gonna put him. I watched him win with Speedy Claxton, bro.
Right. Well, Paul, hold on, Paul, real quick. The Heat were a dynasty?
You know, I'm gonna say, well, technically by law, they didn't win 3, so they shouldn't be. Before chips in 4 years, I'm putting them in that dynasty book.
I don't know about that one, but carry on.
I'm going to say someone I don't think who gets enough credit as a coach. I'm going Larry Brown, man. I honestly think Larry Brown, he doesn't get enough respect that he deserves. And one of the reasons I'm going with Larry Brown, you're going to look at me and walk away, but I'm going Larry Brown. We're talking basketball. Larry Brown, the NCAA champion, the NBA champion, only coach in history to ever do something like that. He took he didn't have a superstar on his Pistons team to win a championship. We don't give him enough credit for the work that he does. That's what I'm saying. We sit here and we glorify the coaches who have done great, who have had players. Larry Brown had nobody. But again, this isn't my segment, so I'm not going to cook. I'm going to let you guys finish your segment.
As expected, you picked some white meat coach to wax poetic about. Get the hell out of here, Carl. What's the next topic, Paul?
You guys wanted to talk about agents, and you said it's Clutch Sports, like the best run agent out there in the game. And I know Paul wanted to touch upon that.
I mean, Clutch could be another day. I don't even think, for me, it's a debate, right? Because what we are seeing Clutch do on the court, off the court, fiscally and physical control is unmatched in the sport. The actual NBA has never seen it before, right? We used to laud Drew Rosenhaus in the NFL because he had all these clients, right? But the reality is, people will cut ties with whoever is their contract and their representation and go out there and say, Clutch is where I want to be. They're going to get me where I want to go, right? Whether it's movie deals, shoe deals, winning teams, look at J.R. Smith's last 5 years of his career. You don't even got to think about the first 7 or 10 that he had, right? Forget that he was on the Knicks. Forget all that stuff that he was a high school draft pick. Just look at his last 5 years. That's Clutch Sports. That's.
I would say they're the most powerful agency right now, but like greatest, I think that their story is still being told. But most powerful and understanding how the NBA overall market works from the basketball all the way through the media, they have mastered the game and they are building something that we've never seen before.
Never.
So they're the best right now, the most powerful right now, and maybe they'll be the greatest. But I'm not prepared to do that just yet. Let's see what happens when LeBron leaves the game.
Right.
How powerful Clutch is.
I will say this though. I'm curious to see what Rock Nation Sports continues to do.
Right.
Because what they've kind of done is infiltrate every single market, which we haven't seen Clutch do. We've seen Rock Nation jump on the scene and put Cano in Seattle, Washington for $250 million. That was unheard of at the time. Nobody spurns the Yankees, right?
Right.
So we've seen Cano swerve the Yankees for $2.25. We've seen what they've been doing in the NFL, right? So I'm curious to see how that continues to project NBA-wise because they will continue to get all of these top draft picks to join their crew as well. So I'm curious to see how that plays out. I wanted to also touch on the lonely Dak Prescott situation.
Yeah.
I mean, was he wilding for not taking the deal?
I'll say no. And you know what? Here's the problem I have with Dak. Huh?
Yeah, I'm sorry. That's hard, though, bro. Like, I'm thinking about it, like, when you get money, I understand what he's trying to do, but that's hard to say no to that deal, and then look what ends up happening. So it's a tough call. It really is.
It's a double-edged sword. The problem with Dak is not wrong for holding out for more bread because when you look at the NFL quarterback market, he should ask for more money. But then if I'm the organization and I'm the fan, I'm the person watching the game, do I think Dak was worth what he was asking for? No. I mean, the numbers are there. There's going to be the people with the calculators. We know who you are. Look at his stats. Look at his completions. But is Dak Prescott a money quarterback? Can you close your eyes and say Dak is going to show up in clutch time and get the job done? My answer is no. The guys who are getting these $40 million per year or close to, you know what I mean? These guys have done it at the highest level, all the way up through Pat Mahomes getting the Super Bowl trophy, right? He did that. We've seen Deshaun Watson get it done in the playoffs. We can't even say we've seen Deshaun Watson fold up in a big game. If there's a big spot, Watson's gonna show up. Even Lamar Jackson has had bigger, better moments with the lights on. I've seen, what was it, just last season against the Eagles, Dak Prescott, he crapped the bed in Philly. One of the worst games of the season. I've seen Dak Prescott miss too many open receivers by not hitting them in stride, throwing the ball just a smidge behind. Even if the ball was caught, it could have been a touchdown, but now it's a 35-yard completion because the ball wasn't where it was supposed to be. Dak Prescott, when you start looking closely at his performances, he is not a money quarterback. So is he wilding for not taking the money? Yes. Is he wilding for betting on himself considering the quarterback market? Absolutely not. Secondly, Travis was on that earlier segment talking a set of nonsense. The Cowboys should pay him. Why? Because the injury, when it's all said and done, if you're a sports fan, Robin Ventura, the baseball player, had a similar injury. He came back and he was a slugging third baseman. Okay? So that means you're standing on your feet a long time. You're doing things on a baseball field that require running, sliding, and a lot of some athletic movements. When you look at how the quarterback position is protected, he already had the surgery. There's no infection. He's going to be okay. And if anything, he'll learn from this. I bet we'll see Dak slide a lot more going forward. So the Cowboys are going to pay him. Travis, relax.
Now, I do want to add to that, right? Because we talk about the injury. The injury is a surgically repairable injury. Has been since mankind, right? Has been doing surgery, right? I honestly think Dak Prescott becomes a better quarterback with this injury. I think he will continue to throw the ball. He's probably already throwing the ball now, right?
Yeah.
So now you're talking about a guy who will never think get out of the pocket and run as a first way of operation like he currently does. Because to your point, right, the Dak who missed throws, I don't think there's a quarterback who has missed more open receivers since Dak Prescott has been a quarterback in Dallas.
Talk about it.
I mean, you talking about guys who have game tape wise have run freely week after week, but he had that tuck it and run syndrome, right? Which we've seen in the past from other quarterbacks. Now, I will say this, because you touched on a lot of things, and I appreciate that. You touched on the fact that he was not worth what he was asking for. So I got to respond to this bozo in the comments that I just seen, Paul Yusezi, who had the biggest flop, who had a bigger flop this year than I'd probably say that
me
Electronica album.
Then me against Ray. Am I off the hook?
Nah, you was all right. You never had a chance, Carl. You did that for ratings, brother, and I appreciate you for that. Right? So Carson Wentz, if you put Carson Wentz in the Dallas uniform, they go to the Super Bowl if he's healthy. Right? You also mentioned Jared Goff, who went to the Super Bowl and he's done more on the big stage than we've seen Dak Prescott do. Right? So when I look at it, I say Dak Prescott wasn't even worth the $30 million they put on the table. And I also say to myself, right, this is a guy who ended up firing his agent when he signed that franchise tag. I said to myself, well, if he didn't take what they gave him, then who the hell is he waiting for to take a deal? Because it wasn't Mahomes, because he was never getting Mahomes money.
Nope.
And it wasn't Lamar Jackson, who hasn't been paid yet. And it certainly wasn't Deshaun Watson. So you ask yourself, you have been marketed the right way. This isn't like a guy trying to sell energy to like Pfizer or something, right? This is specifically a guy who has all of the game tape in the world, who has overachieved young in his career and is being offered wealth of a lifetime. And that is now in question, unfortunately, because the Jones family has absolutely no reason to pay him. They should, but they don't have to. And depending on how Andy Dalton does, they won't.
Well, here's the deal with that. I'm concerned about Dalton doing well, but let's say Dalton is who we know he is, right? Do you, with the cap shrinking potentially in the offseason, do you risk franchising Dak Prescott a $37 million cap hit? They're gonna have to pay Dak just because they don't want to give him the 37 right now. They can't afford to give him the 37 without giving him a full deal. You know what I'm saying? Like, to me, paying him makes him cheaper, ironically.
Yeah, the first 2 years it typically does with the signing bonus. But, Ray, here's what I'm telling you. If you don't win it all this year, right, which they weren't on paper.
No, that's out.
You cutting ties with Dak. If Andy Dalton can get you to 9 wins in a division win, then Andy Dalton's your man next year as well, right? So is Cam Newton becoming a viable option. Well, and all these other quarterbacks that will hit the market in addition to a quarterback in the draft.
Well, here's where they'll probably play that lovely game of tennis. Considering he's coming off an injury, maybe Dak drops his price. The Cowboys meet Dak halfway. Maybe he doesn't get the 40 ball he was looking for. Maybe he stays in that 30 per annum. You know what I'm saying? Maybe now he understands that 30 a year is better than nothing a year, you know?
Or maybe he gets a Drew Brees deal. 2 at 50.
Yeah.
Take it.
All right, guys, here as we wrap up, any final thoughts here on the Winner's Circle?
I'll let you go first, Ray.
Real quick, I just want to talk about the Cleveland Browns. I noticed that the fans and the media, they spent a lot of time harping about their losses, telling me how bad Baker Mayfield is, telling me how much of a disappointment they are. But now this team is playing well. They look like I wouldn't say a well-oiled machine, but a decently oiled machine that might need an oil change at some point, right? They are looking well, 4-1. The run game is strong. The defense is solid. Myles Garrett is having an all-pro season as we speak. Baker Mayfield is looking like a good NFL quarterback. I won't say elite or great, but he looks like a good NFL quarterback. He is well beyond serviceable. The offense has gone back to what it looks like somewhat in his rookie year with the intermediate routes, considering the O-line is not super strong in the pass blocking realm. They're getting the ball out quicker, as opposed to last season, those long routes, long development plays that played to Baker's weaknesses, considering one quarterback can succeed when you have long development pass plays and a poor pass blocking O-line. Show me one, okay? So now you have a quick pass offense, quick strike offense, strong run game. The Browns look great, and everyone's quiet. I was in a group chat the other day. A guy after week 1 jumped all over Baker Mayfield, jumped all over me because I'm a Baker Mayfield fan. He's like, what's up? The last 4 weeks, we can't hear from him. I hit him up, tagged him and all that. No comment. So all I'm trying to say is, if you want to jump on Baker Mayfield, Odell Beckham, Myles Garrett, and the Cleveland Browns when they lose, because let them lose the Steelers, everybody's going to pop back out. I need that same energy when they're 4-1 and looking like a real threat in the the AFC North. Have the same energy, because to me at this point in 2020, as a sports fan, as a content creator, it's real tacky to see sports fans go hiding when their takes don't hit. Y'all are cowards, and I'm calling you out.
I do want to add to that. I want to say, because we talked about this offline, the Cleveland Browns a year ago was the most talented football team in the NFL. And all they've done was get an actual coach who knows X's and O's, who deserves a job in Kevin Stefanski over Freddie Kitchens, right? Which is a joke, right? And add more defensive pieces, like they get the safety called Joseph out of Vegas for nothing. And I keep saying to myself, this is the NFL's worst nightmare. Do you really want to line up on Sunday and play against Cleveland, where they have 2 number 1 receivers in Odell and Landry? They had the best coveted free agent tight end in Austin Hooper. You got 2 of the best backs in football when Chubb's back with Hunt, who actually make them the best tandem in the game.
Period.
Right? A solid O-line, probably the best front 7 in the NFL on the defensive end, with a lot of talent in the D backfield. How do you beat that team for 48 minutes of football? I don't see it. So for that reason, and they don't even have fans, right? Because we know the dog pound is just itching. Dog pound's ruthless, bro. I don't know how you beat that team. So I'm with you on that. But, they hate to see it. They hate to see when the underdogs are starting to actually get things done. The guys.
Why do we hate good football players? It wasn't like they treated Mayfield like he was Tim Tebow.
No,
Mayfield was a good college quarterback. He didn't get overrated. He did a little poor Dougie or whatever the dance was, and now they hate Baker Mayfield. Like, come on.
He ran from the cops and they hated him. Now, for closing on my end, Carl, I just want to address the Adam Gase low-hanging fruit. It is highly unfortunate that here we are in 2020 with all of the different movements going on, right? The Black Lives Matter and this, that, and the third. It is very unfortunate that we are now seeing, again, a Caucasian NFL coach take away and do everything in his power to lower the standards and the expectations of an African-American athlete, right? And I say that because Adam Gase has history in doing this. This isn't a first time. This isn't a last time, right? So he is the worst coach in the NFL. That is clear. Everybody knows it, right? If you had to rank him 1 through 32, he's not even on the list. You give every enemy a better shot as an assistant than you do him as a head coach. Their GM is probably equally with him, but he's allowing Adam Gase to make this decision. So I say to myself, what? Jamal Adams was vocal. The black guy was vocal. Let's get rid of him. They got rid of him. Le'Veon Bell liked a couple tweets on Twitter. The black guy was vocal. All he wants to do is win and get the ball more. We get rid of him. We cut him. We put him on the street. Who cares if we lose $20 million, right? There's families out there that can't eat, but it's dead cap space. Devontae Parker was on his way out of the NFL. We were calling him a first-round bust. Now he's a Pro Bowl wide receiver post Adam Gase. Kenyon Drake was cut from the Miami Dolphins. He's now the starting running back for a winning Arizona Cardinals team, right? Lamar Miller, after putting up one of the most historic days in sports history, who won me $7,000 in DraftKings, was cut. He was traded the very next week from Adam Gase. We've seen what he did with Ryan Tannehill in Miami. At what point do we say this individual needs to be held accountable? And accountability for me is the man has to go.
But the problem with that is, Paul, holding Adam Gase accountable places the egg on the face of the Jets brass. I'm thinking about the sorry Giants too, the Jets brass. Yet again, these old money Republican owners who don't like to look bad, don't like to look like they don't know what they're doing, would rather die on the hill of Adam Gase and Dave Gettleman. I'm going to rope him in there then they're doing what's right for their franchises. That's all it's about. I can't look bad. It can't be the coach because we hired him. So it has to be the wayward player. It has to be the player who won't fall in line and say yes, sir, or no, sir. You know what I'm saying? When the reality is that people that make the decisions for these organizations are very sorry. They have a short-sighted worldview. They only see things their way, and they're failing their fan base. They're failing the organization. They're failing, period. That's all it's about, bro. We got to call it what it is.
And I think Carl would appreciate this. Yo, from a quote from the good movie White Men Can't Jump. Would you rather look bad and win or look good and lose? Right?
Clearly they want to look good and lose, huh?
I mean, I can't imagine a team that wants to rebuild would have 40-year-old guys in the starting lineup when they got 20-year-olds waiting.
Yeah. Guys, thank you so much here for Hitless Wednesday. We have a Mount Rushmore to do. I think, Ray, you're on that for 6 o'clock. We're covering power forward position, so we're going down that line. Please make sure you like, share.
Webber's on there, bro.
Say it again.
Make sure Chris Webber makes the list.
It's going to be a goodie. You guys make sure you like, share, comment, subscribe. I know I'm behind on the Hitless releases. The Mount Rushmores we still have the episode 1, the center one to release. That one was a little bit spicy, so we're a little bit backdated on it, but they will get released with a lot of content that we have to cover. You guys, please make sure you stay safe. We got Sunday football coming up, and then always make sure you tune in on Wednesdays live. You don't know what you're gonna get. I'm gonna start planning next week's show when I get off, as we speak with my contributors. Ray Jarvis, I know he dropped his promo. It looks fire. I can't wait for his show to come back. You guys make sure you check out the Gray Area. Like, share, comment, subscribe to all content. I love you guys, and I'll talk to you guys soon.
Sir.
All right, take care.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.